And so instead of reacting, what they're likely to do is consider. They have an open mind, they're going to be open and receptive to the possibility of something, but they're going to use their own critical faculty, their own discernment, their own life experience to determine whether or not that suggestion is something they're going to accept or reject. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the G-Spot. I'm Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist, and this is the place where we talk about all kinds of cool things that are hypnotic. Today we're going to talk about placebo, nocebo, and suggestibility. And yes, everyone is suggestible. If you think you aren't, then stay tuned because I am going to give you all the juicy details. Suggestibility is about how we take in information. It's how we are influenced. It's either working for us or against us. When it's working for us, it helps us to align with our positive expectations, these things that we want to create for ourselves. And hypnosis has a way to supercharge this, to go in and say, how do I access an open-minded state, a naturally occurring process, and amplify this so that I can achieve that goal, so that I can make that happen. When suggestibility is working against us, we are not even realizing that we are under the influence of negative sources, images, impressions, sounds, you name it. There are so many people out there who confuse gullibility with suggestibility, and I'm going to tell you the difference. Now, when this goes into the extreme, that leaves us vulnerable to being manipulated. So think about the far ends of political parties. Think about cults. Think about religion. Yes, I will say it, religion. Gullibility is a position where we're not able to critically think about the issue, what we're being told, what we're being asked to accept, and it often leads to deception. Now, the key takeaway is that suggestibility is neutral. It can be guided. It's a place where we invite you into a space to consider what could be, according to your own spiritual authority, your own sense of morality and integrity. Gullibility, on the other hand, is unfiltered belief that often leads to disillusionment and deception. Now, some people are more highly suggestible than others. When I say to someone, you really seem like a highly suggestible person, the way that they react to me will tell me exactly how highly suggestible they are, because they will either say, oh, I am, and they'll lean in, or they'll say, no, I'm not, how dare you, and they get really incredulous and try to prove to me why they are not hypersuggestible, but clearly they are because they've gone into the loop of it, haven't they? And they will try to convince themselves why they're not hypersuggestible, and that in and of itself proves to me that they're running off their own internal hypersuggestibility. Someone who is less on the scale of hypersuggestibility, what we call like within normal range, they're going to approach everything they hear and see, all that input and information, with a normal sense of critical thinking, using their own internal bias, and they're going to be able to be open enough to it to consider it without just letting it drop right in and become their belief system. And so instead of reacting, what they're likely to do is consider. They have an open mind, they're going to be open and receptive to the possibility of something, but they're going to use their own critical faculty, their own discernment, their own life experience to determine whether or not that suggestion is something they're going to accept or reject. So what makes somebody hyper suggestible? Well, number one is imagination. And folks, I'm here to tell you I am a highly suggestible individual. My imagination is off the rails all the time, and it's actually what makes me a really good hypnotist. The other thing that opens us up to being hypersuggestible is how we feel. People who feel things a lot, whether it's emotionally or somatically, they just have a capacity to feel. Other people have become conditioned to be hypersuggestible because they grew up in environments where they had to be really pleasing to the adults around them, or they grew up in environments that were more religious or more ideological, so that they were told what they were supposed to think and feel and believe, and it was within a structure that made them hypersuggestible to all those other points in the world that matched that experience. In other words, they become hypersuggestible to trusted authority figures. And this plays out across the spectrum in society, whether it's politics or in the medical community, in the metaphysical community, or especially in the religious communities. Now, oftentimes when people tread the line between gullibility and suggestibility, it's usually in context with politics and religion. And because they are so hypersuggestible to authority figures, they often don't use their own discernment. They take in what that person is saying, what that policy or that concept is. And this goes across the spectrum of political ideology, by the way. and they take it in without using critical faculty. And remember, gullibility is unfiltered belief without discernment. That bears repeating. And finally, one of the most common ways that any of us, regardless of where we are on the suggestibility spectrum, can become hypersuggestible is when stress and overload come into play. Let's say you're at the grocery store, right? And you've used all your restraint not to buy that shit you know you shouldn't have. And you're in line and you're waiting for your turn, and you get closer and closer and closer, and then there it is, the candy bar. There it is. And you've got nothing left in the tank as a way to resist, and you'd reach for it and you buy it. That is a classic example of somebody who's become hypersuggestible. And incidentally, there's no accident, and I know you know this, that's why they have them there. And now I'm going to touch upon placebo and nocebo. Most of us have heard of placebo, and what that means is that we are very open and receptive to the positive benefits of something. And this is most often seen in research studies. When someone is taking an inert substance, they're told, well, you don't know whether you're getting the real medication or a placebo, and yet they reap all the benefits when they're getting a sugar pill. Nocebo is the opposite. It's when they're taking an inert substance and they come down with the diarrhea, the insomnia, the nausea, and the vomiting, right? But they're getting nothing at all. They are hypersuggestible to the negative. That is nocebo. Now, placebo is a good thing. People like to shit on it. They like to poo-poo it. They like to tell you it's bullshit. But the truth is, how powerful is it that your mind can be open to the idea of something beneficial, and it changes your chemistry, your biology, your physiology to the degree that you're experiencing something helpful. Now, this helps us to heal quicker. It helps us to let go of trauma faster. It especially benefits us when we're in hypnotherapy. If somebody is open to the positive possibilities more than they are the negative, they're going to be able to make change with hypnosis faster than any other type of therapy out there. Nocebo also comes into play when somebody is getting treatment for something. Right? They've gone in and they're taking the high blood pressure medicine, or they've changed their diet. They're doing all the things they can to bring their blood pressure down, and it doesn't go down. I'm here to tell you from clinical experience, these people are the ones that are the negative Nancys. They are the negative Nelsons. They're out there just shitting on everything, and they've got a negative thing to say. And so essentially, it's their internal negativity that is the definition of nocebo. Now, because placebo works on really optimizing the positive, and nocebo is only possible because we focus and really reinforce the negative, the way this serves us in hypnosis is we can go in and we can reduce a person's tendency to be negative. We can look at it, why did they feel that way? How did they learn to be this way? And we can shift it and change it one step at a time. And how the positive aspect works is that a person in hypnosis is going to be that much more receptive to the hypnotic suggestion because they already have a positive anticipation of change. Finally, I'm going to invite you to take a moment and think of something that you really love, something that makes you smile, that makes you happy, that you're so open to allowing this to come into you, to imagine it, sense it, feel it. Remember, it's your imagination. It's the way to feel it. What would it be like to take this experience and copy and paste it, map it across to something else that you would also like to be open and receptive to, something that you maybe used to be negative to, or used to reject or push away? And I know you know how to copy and paste. We all know how to do that now, don't we? So just, copy and paste this really good feeling onto that thing over there that used to bother you or bug you, so that you can be a little bit less suggestible to the negative. Now, if you've ever found yourself overly suggestible to something, leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear about it, and let's talk about it. If you find that yourself, that maybe, hey Gila, after seeing this, maybe I am really suggestible to nocebo, put your comments down below as well, and I can give you some ideas on how to shift that. If you found this information helpful or interesting in any way, please like and share, because it helps me to get the information out there. And until next time, get out there and have some fun. I'll see you on the G-Spot next week.